a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Gingerbread cookies.
Okay, just want to record. Allow. Right, guys, so on this episode I have my brother, Ethan. Ethan has been my brother for years.
Yeah, the entire life, actually. Isn't that crazy how it works?
It's crazy. Yeah. How did I end up with you? But no, Ethan and I are just like, we kind of just want to talk about just some like general life things. Like we already talk a lot about like lifting and stuff like that. But Ethan, tell you about like what you do for like work and whatnot.
I run a tannery. So like, you ever gone to like Cabela's? Is the camera filming there or?
It's recording, filming right there, and it's also recording on here.
You know what taxidermy is? Any of you there? Tan the hides for taxidermy and such, or make like a rug, a blanket out of a bear or bison, that sort of stuff. Work with dead animals and make soft stuff.
Yeah.
Make their hides soft.
Yeah, and so you learned that from some crazy Russian dude, right?
Yeah, I worked for a Russian guy for a long time. Not a long time, a few years.
So, like, what kind of pushed you towards so ever since you were little, like you've always been like really into animals in general. Like, what has it been about animals that like you just like and gravitate towards?
I just like the outdoors. I think animals are cool. I think like anything that has to do with hunting, outdoors, any sort of stuff like that has just always piqued my interest. And like some people really enjoy sport, some people really enjoy, certain art or whatever, and that's kind of where I fell into.
Yeah, so you're also really into art as a kid, and it's like this kind of like combines interest in animals and also
it's
art.
A craft,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into it. People don't, you describe it to the general public, they don't know anything you're talking about, and then you talk to like hunters and such, and they think they know when they don't actually know.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like something that you got to be in the very small industry to really have like any sort of general knowledge about.
Yeah, so like in regards to like so how do people typically tend to find you then for taxidermy? Because it's a pretty like niche trade to have.
Well, generally what happens is people will take like an animal that they shot, they'll take the skinned out hide to a taxidermist.
So they skin them like themselves.
You skin it out on the mountain. You have to shoot it. It's hard to like drag a whole elk anywhere, right?
Yeah.
They'll skin it out and they'll take it to taxidermist. Taxidermist will do a little bit of they'll flesh the hide, they'll salt it, a little bit of just get the hide into a preserved state, take it to me, and I'll tan the hide and get it back to them in a situation where they can actually mount it on like a mannequin and do the taxidermy with it. Or if they just want like a rug or something like that, I'll make a nice sort of like piece of leather out of it,
Mm-hmm.
That's really the basics of it,
So like, how do people then find you then? Like, how do you network?
Well, it's a small community. Word spreads fast. Not a lot of people that do my works, and generally, first thing that people like ask you is like, first they assume you do it for a hobby, and then they're like, oh well, how is there enough work for you to actually be busy? And when I was getting into it, starting my own business, I had a little bit of that concern there. Crap, am I going to be actually having enough work to sustain myself, make enough money, and everything? And there's actually the opposite problem happened where I took in too much that my turnaround suffered, and was having a hard time getting stuff back at a reasonable rate. So that's definitely plenty of work out there.
Yeah, and like that's really awesome because like number one, like something like you and I have always like ever since we were kids, you always have kind of gravitated more towards like doing our own thing, like all the time. Like mom and dad would always like tell us to do certain things, and like we would do them. We were always just kind of like, don't tell me what to do. Like we're gonna kind of figure it out. Like mom and dad would be like, don't touch the fire. I'd be like, I kind of want to touch the ceiling. What happens? Like I was at least how I was.
Yeah.
And I feel like we both have been like rather creative, and like hardworking, and I feel like entrepreneurship is kind of like that ultimate way to like express like creativity. Also, like if you have like a niche skill and talent and like ability to like do certain things, it's always stressful to some extent. Like when you make the choice yourself, especially like that initial
Yeah, it's definitely stressful when you make the first decision to transfer, quit your job and start doing something yourself. It absolutely is. And there's definitely going to be times when you're starting your business, getting it up and running. I mean, probably for the first few years, and maybe even longer, you're going to be sitting there sort of thinking, did I make the right decision sometimes, and debating and weighing the pros and cons and stuff like that. It's not an easy run no matter like what path you take in life. That's just the reality.
That's my mind. That's also my mentality with it. It's like no matter what you choose to do, like making money and getting by, it's like especially right now, it's not easy. And like I'd rather work my ass off for crazy hours a week, but it doesn't feel like work in the same way that like an actual job does. I remember I was working at like a grocery store, or I was in school or whatnot. Like I remember being a little kid. Like I remember just always like after like recess at lunch, I was like, oh my gosh, I had like 3 hours of this crap. And like that was the same thing with like work. It was like the work. I was like, I hate this. This is like so like mundane. Whereas like right now, it's just like I work and it can be stressful. And it's a job, but it doesn't feel the same. It's like I want to do this.
Right.
I'll be doing this regardless. So I guess like in regards to like I guess like for like just like some other like backstories, like Ethan and I have always like been like kind of strong too, and like a little bit more drawn to that, like weights. Like what has kind of like gotten you into like weight training, and like what's your interest in it?
I think it's just like it's one of those things where if you have an interest in it, you have an interest in it, right? It's kind of like trying to explain why I have a certain hobby is almost pointless to an extent when it's just like you like what you like, and there's no other way to explain it. You like breathing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that just comes natural to a lot of people, especially a lot of men nowadays and women too. Just fitness and wanting to achieve something like that. For me, I've always really enjoyed like strength training. Definitely, haven't really ever pursued any sort of aesthetic, training, say like any bodybuilding or classic physique. I've never really been interested in that. And I haven't lifted seriously in years, but something I hope to get back into definitely. And when I was doing it, I definitely had a lot of fun in it. And I think that like considering the amount of time that I had actually put towards it and my age at the time when I was doing it, I did make some, fairly decent accomplishments.
Like just tell people like kind of like what your numbers were and like what you're kind of like going more towards.
Yeah. So I let's see, 19 years old. I had a 630-pound deadlift, as well as a 275-pound strict press. That's just like a shoulder press, like a push press essentially, but no legs used at all. Just straight shoulders, triceps, being used there. And my body weight fluctuated a lot. Let's see, when I was 16, I was 160 pounds. By the time I was 17, I was 280, and then 19, 310.
Well, you had like something that like people might not like understand is like when you were a kid, like you were on like this certain medication that like really like dampened your appetite, right?
Yeah, I've taken some like I think it was ADHD medication that had definitely suppressed my appetite for several years. Started having really bad sort of chest pains, heart problems, having a hard time keeping food down, just overall struggles with general health. It just kind of made day-to-day life a little bit more challenging. Went off medication, and I gained like
a lot of weight.
Yeah, I think in the space of 7 months, I gained 120 pounds.
Well, I remember me like just for context, like back during this time, like I was really interesting. I was just avoiding food. I would see you like your breakfast would be like 4 packs of oatmeal and like chocolate chips, like peanut butter. And you'd like finish it, and you'd like more.
Yeah.
And like I'm like, what is happening? And mom's like, this is fine, like it's all good. Like, and I'm like, it will happen forever. It's just
it
happening,
definitely,
dude.
Mom and Dad definitely did start getting really concerned about me. Understandably so. I remember.
like,
going back to
he's
school.
Going to make us bankrupt.
Going back to school, and it was like people sometimes didn't even recognize me just because I put on like 100 pounds over
Did
the
that
space
like
of the summer.
change like a lot about how you thought about yourself? Like, what was your thought process like when you saw yourself that way?
It was like it was interesting because it's something that kind of bugged me a little bit when I was younger. Was I remember you had struggling with anorexia, obviously, and sometimes word rumor get out. Someone in the family, blah blah, one of the kids is like anorexic, and usually you'd be able to tell like based off appearance who that is, But I was so freaking skinny that I remember sometimes people thought that I was the anorexic person in the family.
You were really thin when
I was like, no, kids. I ate plenty. I was just small. I was small. I was same height I am now, since like the age of 13. But I was just frail.
Well, yeah, like you were just really thin, and like, that's a really good point. Is that like
now I'm fat?
like my thing, healthy at every size. My thing is like when like we were kids, like we did everything. Like we were just inseparable. We'd just be constant, like playing in like the bushes, or like playing in Magic, or like wrestling all the time. And,
right.
Like I remember, like you and I, we ate the same crap like all the time. Like I know that I always ate like a pretty good amount. So that's something that I don't think you like really good about me. It's like I have always had a rather big appetite. Like I've always eaten like just house food if I wanted to. And like like ice cream and stuff like that. Like for some reason, like I remember actually like I was looking, I was like, man, I really like, I'm kind of envied like your frame. It's just kind of funny. It's like when I thought about that, I'm like I've always kind of like been a little more like, I guess, prone to being anorexic. Just from how I just thought. I was like, oh, I want to be small, like I want to be like lean, and like I felt like I was kind of like always a weird kid.
Yeah.
But like with you, it was like you just weren't gaining any sort of weight.
No, I wasn't.
Like you did start hitting puberty though. Like you just got big traps and like
yeah,
big delts.
Yeah, definitely. When I start lifting and I get really back into it, the first thing that seems to grow is absolutely my traps, definitely my delts, as well as my lats. I remember even when I was really skinny, I still had I had a really big neck.
Yeah, your neck was holy crap.
Yeah, when I really get back into lifting, like I haven't
you weren't
been
even doing anything. Like you weren't even doing direct neck training. Like
I did
you
shrugs.
Just started. And, like, yeah, but like that doesn't have to be able to do shrugs. Like
no, I know. It was like you see a picture like this football player, and I just had. It's like that was like me at like 16. But the rest of my body was just like noodles. It was funny.
Yeah, but like in terms of like I think that's like for like your overall. I'm looking at pictures actually right now of like how like tall and thin that you were. Like when you did that, like I know that was a big thing for you too. Was like you wanted to be really really strong. I think like you wanted to like break that sort of like image of like people like oh Ethan's just skinny.
Yeah, I hated that. I always got people were always talking about not necessarily I think trying to be rude. Commenting on how you're skinny and that sort of stuff, and you can make it. You can always talk about why'd you get into lifting, and you can always use the classic story of I was bullied and blah blah blah, so I started lifting weights. People
I got a breakup,
all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But like really, to an extent, a little bit was just because I got tired of just being the skinny kid and having people always commenting on that. And I remember watching just in movies, seeing like people, superheroes, whatever, doing super cool like feats of strength or whatever. Or I remember even like just being like a little kid. Watching Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Quasimodo.
Yeah, Quasimodo, he's tied to the pillars and he's got the chains, there, and he's getting real mad.
He-Man too.
Yeah, and he freaking like rips free and everything, and I thought that was so badass. And yeah, like classic examples of that from just when you're a childhood, strong characters like He-Man or whatever, you think that's cool. And as you get older, you're like, I think once you start lifting and you start seeing a little bit of progress, it becomes sort of addicting. That especially when you're brand new to it, you make progress really fast.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's really fun. You start seeing like it's something that you can kind of measure, and that's why I really liked doing strength training sort of over any sort of aesthetic. Because at the time when I really started lifting, I was gaining a lot of weight, so I was putting on a lot of fat. I was getting bigger, so I was okay with that. I was no longer the super skinny kid, but it kind of got to the point where I'm like, holy shit, yeah, I'm like now I got a fucking gut, and everything. And now it's to the point where people are even commenting on that. But I'm lifting and I'm getting stronger. I was like.
There's also a difference between like the big dude and like the strong, like they're big, but they're not fat. Like they don't look like a typical fat person.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, definitely not. And of course I never got to like I'm talking like I'm in high school and I wasn't like any sort of insane strength athlete like you see on like Instagram or anything like that. But still, like being 19 years old, 275 strict press, 630 deadlift is pretty good. Like I incline benched 315 before I ever flat benched it. I shoulder pressed 225 for, I think, 7 reps before I ever even flat benched 315. I had like just really strong shoulders and triceps.
Well, that was just because like that was how you trained.
Yeah, I definitely trained. I wasn't a big fan of bench pressing. I did it a little bit, but like I just wasn't. I didn't think it was that fun. I had a lot of fun like doing overhead implements. You know, trying to see like how big a dumbbell I could press over my head in one arm, or just kind of like the basic strongman movements. Basic shit like how heavy a rock I could pick up or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like it's not just a boulder, it's a rock. It's a SpongeBob theme. Like that's like strongman. But like when you're talking about like the initial time, like that's such a that's an easy time to like stay motivated. Is like you're just making such fast progress. I remember like
and also high school. It's like what else for a lot of people? Like what else is going on in their life?
Well, and also like dude, if you're in high school and like it's like like in high school, everybody cares about those things.
Yeah,
it's like it's like if you're getting this big and strong, people are like, holy crap, like you're this big and strong, like you get some more like street cred. Obviously, just from dudes, the girls don't care.
Yeah,
like that's still like awesome. I think that like it's so easy to stay motivated, like especially in those first stages. Like I remember like when I was first like when I lifted, because when I got out of high school and I went through my first semester of college, there's no way I can keep being anorexic. Like I can't do it, and so I was like, I'm just gonna start lifting, and hired a coach, and like I was like eating for me was just the most scary thing, like just so scary, like because like basically for people that don't know, like and Ethan can talk about it, Ethan also knows, but I don't think he knows exactly how bad it was. But I would basically start myself 6 out of 7 days of the week, barely eating anything. Like it would basically be like I would wake up. It got to the point where like I would just pick out like my oatmeal. I would maybe sip a little bit of orange juice. Yeah. Mom and dad would get so annoyed. They'd just be like whatever, like just throw it away. And then I would eat lunch. I would be in the car, just roll up with the windows and freezing. My friends thought I was just practicing the bass. And then I would come and I would do whatever Caleb Chapman music thing I had to do after. And then I would come home and eat whatever mom and dad made me eat for dinner, so maybe like 700 calories.
I remember it went like that for years.
But then the ironic thing about that was I would have that huge blowout day on like a Saturday. I would people were like talking 10,000 calories.
It was like junk food.
I'm like, dude, I've done like probably 15,000 calories in like one day.
Yeah.
Like when you're starving to death, like it's that bad.
And you can put it down.
It's so easy to. It was like especially because like I would like all the bad foods I couldn't eat.
Yeah, I remember you were obsessed with like Dove chocolate and like.
It wasn't Dove chocolate, dude. Like my cheat days would literally be like I remember like sort of like for example, it would be like going to Kneaders, eating like 8 pieces of French toast, and those things have like 1,200 calories for like 2 pieces.
I was back when Kneaders was good too.
Now it sucks. And then like I would come home and like have like peanut butter and cookies, and then have Cliff bars, and then like whatever you do like after skiing, like.
Right.
And then we would like go and like have pizza and just like everything I could possibly have, and just feel like so bad afterwards. But like when I started off lifting and I got into like college, and I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. One, I don't have the money. Two, I don't have the time. And B, like I just feel like crap. Like, I would just feel so miserable after that day. I would just be like, I feel so guilty. I would do all this cardio and whatnot. And when I got into college and like I started eating, and I also like started like sort of like flexible dieting and like being like, okay, I'm just going to focus on calories, and like I can eat like a Dove chocolate or something like that during like the week, and like it was really scary. But like I saw Kino Body, and like I saw like he would do that.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was like, I had
a
a very big obsession with him. I was very obsessed with intermittent fasting, which is I have my opinions about that. I think intermittent fasting is a fine timing strategy for some people, but like for most people, it's just not good. It's like the hard thing about that
maybe
is
if you
like,
have like the idea of weight loss in mind or something like that. But...
And if you don't have a predisposition to eating disorders, then it's fine.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But for me, like having like even okay, I can have like this scoop of ice cream. I can track my calories, and I also focus on just getting bigger and stronger and lifting weights. And I saw like I started like 135. I was really thin. Like after my first semester, I got even worse. And I started off about 135, and I got up to like 150.
You know what was really funny?
Go ahead.
Like I thought growing up a little bit, talking back like at that point, that age, I always thought it was funny how you could be like 30 pounds lighter than me. And I'm like 2 inches taller than you at most. If that, like what, you're like 5'11", 5'11 and a half? Yeah, I'm 6'1". But still, you being like 30 pounds lighter than me, somehow you look like bigger than me, even when you weighed like 30 pounds less.
Well, that's something about like bone structure.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Limb length
and
and all that sort of stuff.
and that's just like how your muscles look naturally. Like the thing about like I've got people coming to me up in real life. They're like, you just look like really round in like 3D, and like it just I have a very certain look like when I take off my shirt too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you take off the shirt and you see the muscles like chiseled.
It's a body. It's a bodybuilding.
Yeah, it's just like how like you can have someone who's like, oh, they look like not huge with a shirt on, and you take it off, and all of a sudden they look so much bigger just because it's the muscles, And it's sort of the opposite, where it's like you got a really, really big. Well, you see a lot of strength athletes, they're going to be freaking huge in general, but like you have higher body fat and a little more mass, you're going to look bigger with a shirt on,
Well, you exactly like you look in regular clothes and everyday life, you look way bigger.
Yeah.
But like when you take off the shirt, it's like when you're lean, you look fucking like insane.
Yeah, exactly.
But like going back like that, like when I started gaining weight, I was like, oh my gosh, like how I look so much better. I had more energy. I was getting really strong. It's like something about everybody in this family. Like Jacob just started lifting, and like he's like doing 405 and like he's benching like 200 pounds.
Yeah, and
like squatting like
315
for 3, like to depth. Like I just got really strong, and I was gaining a lot of muscle, and I wasn't getting fat.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was like, oh my gosh, I kept going, kept going, and like I went on a really big bulk up to like 180 pounds.
Do you think your body like sort of got trained and used to operating being lean?
Yes, I 100% think that a lot of people ask me, how do you stay so lean?
Right.
When you're starving yourself to death for 5 years, and you're probably like 5%, 6% body fat, like legitimately, like year round. If you're 9, 10% body fat,
it feels like
you feel totally fine.
Yeah, it's
like the amount of calories I'm eating right now on a daily basis, like I'm eating like 5,000 calories a day right now.
Probably like 30% body fat.
But like that definitely did like reset my body got set point. Also changed a little bit my appetite signal and whatnot. But like I remember I went up to like 180.
Yeah.
I remember I was posting pictures. I was posting lifts, and people were like commenting like, "Oh my gosh, like you look really good." And I was getting really strong. Like my first bulk in a year and a half, I got up to like a 585 deadlift.
Yeah, I remember
like
that.
a 405 squat and a 315 bench. It was really rapid, and like I was just eating, and I definitely gained body fat. But I carried it so well. I was maybe like 15%. I still had 4 fat. I still had like separation. But that's another thing. 15% is a lot leaner than people think. That's like a visible 4 pack and whatnot. But then I got
I was going to say people always underestimate
like 15%. It's like dude, you don't have abs. You're like if you're above 20. Like 20% is like still like you have a visible upper abs.
Yeah, you can. It depends on how much muscle mass you have.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah, people just sort of like when like you see like people will be like, oh, can you pump your pecs? Can you do this or that? It's like if you can't, it's like you got to have the muscle to do it.
You need muscle mass exactly, and like that's one of the things that like I realized like from getting that from focusing on powerlifting, getting stronger was that like building muscle was like what made me feel so much better. Yeah. And like after that, I went out and cut so easy. It wasn't hard at all. I went back down to it wasn't hard, and like. I think that little like that's a big part of like the new games like gets you hooked. Like what kind of like after that point is like like that's a lot slower. Like I couldn't gain weight as fast as my second bulk. Mm-hmm. Like I got way fatter, like way faster. Like crap, like I cut back a little bit. But like
mellows out a bit. Yeah,
it's just the nature of the beast. Lifting is one of those ironic things. Like the longer that you do it, and the better you get at it, the less in return you get for it.
That's true.
But like I think there's something about like lifting and whatnot like. People like a lot of people lift for the calorie burning effect of it when they start out, especially if they're overweight or whatnot. It's like I want to like punish myself. It's like exercise is not a great way to burn calories. Like you do burn calories. Don't get me wrong. But in order to burn like a signal to your body, like if you're doing cardio, trying to just like kind of signal to your body, like be like a more efficient like machine. Be leaner, be like a little bit lighter. Which that has an independently good effects. If you're doing like 8,000, 10,000 steps a day, you're going to be leaner than you would if you're just doing cardio and just lifting weights. Like lifting weights is like about getting stronger, about building muscle, and like building muscle over time. That's how you increase your metabolism. Just out rest doing nothing. When you're moving around more, you burn more calories because it's more oxygen, more like, expensive to carry around. But I don't know, there's just a lot of confidence that just came for me from lifting weights, and like that's why I personally like going back like full circle, like electrification and whatnot. Like that's why I wanted to start my business.
Yeah, you definitely excelled at it. It has changed your life absolutely.
And I obsessed over this stuff.
You were pursuing music so hard, I remember, and it's really switched. I remember when you decided to change like your majors in college and everything. People
that was a tough choice.
Yeah, people were kind of like, oh, I don't know if I'm making the right decision or not, but you really did it for yourself. I think this was going to make me happy and get me somewhere. I think it's a good thing that you did that.
I'm really grateful for it. Life is just one of those things where, like, I never planned for this to happen,
Right.
and that's why whenever people ask me, like, what's your long-term game plan? I'm like, I don't
Figuring it
know.
out still.
I'll figure it out. Like, I have a general compass. I have morals. I have things I want to do, but it's like,
It's sort of like, yeah, you've got to have somewhat of a plan, absolutely, of pursuing life. But the reality is like, life never goes to plan still.
no, of course not. And that's like, I think that's also what's cool about it. Like President Uchtdorf, he has a saying where it's like, at the end of your life, like, the look of it is going to be like better than you could ever imagined, or more perfect than you ever could imagine. Like, I honestly found that to be the case. Like, my anorexia was terrible to deal with. Dude, I've learned so much from it. I've learned how to help people in my similar situation from it. From every single struggle that you put forth, it's like life's not supposed to be easy, and like you can basically, adversity is going to come, but like it really molds you into the person that you're going to be and builds resiliency. And I think that's also one of the main things about lifting too, is like the mental benefits of it. It's life lessons. It's like you have to be patient. You feel better. You have to be patient for the results. But like why I keep coming back to lifting is because of how it made me feel and how it still makes me feel. And like after I train, I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was a crappier session, it's like, oh, at least I got some lifting and I'm grateful.
And it can just be like a light little something, just to get like a little bit of a pump or whatever, and it just makes you feel a bit better.
Yeah, like people think that like regular people like don't need to do like what I'm trying to do.
No,
like
the length that you train to.
So I train like 3 hours a day, 7 days.
That would just be honestly, that's just way too much for a beginner. You have to be really quite advanced to be doing that level of exercise.
And have the recovery capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that like you see that in sports with like high school sports and that sort of stuff. They never seem to respect or understand that you gotta recover.
Oh no!
I remember doing football on the lineman. I remember just running and running. I only played 1 year. I wasn't even that good at it, honestly. I had a lot more fun in the weight room than I did ever out playing on the field or anything. I was just too slow, but I remember it didn't help that I went from like 290 pounds to 220 by the time the season started, just because we dropped all weight training and just completely did cardio.
So stupid.
And I'm like, I remember. I was 18 at the time, or maybe I just turned 19. I can't remember, but I remember like beginning of the summer when we had just cut off doing weights. Like, so we've been doing, weights all throughout the school year.
Let's get really big and strong, and then we're
exactly.
Strong.
So I remember I could bench 225 for 18 reps, I remember. And then by the time the actual season started, I could only do them for 3 because I was so just destroyed.
Westlake football, why are we bad? Yeah, like that's one of the things too about like also.
It didn't help. I wasn't a good player in general, but like I'm saying that definitely contributes. I'm sure I would have been a lot better. I'm sure that everyone else who actually knew how to play the game would have been a lot better too if there was proper strength.
The interesting thing, so when I was at BYU and I was in my master's degree, I was helping out with spring football. I saw how the weight room worked. I saw how the athletic training staff worked. I saw how the coaches treated the players. Completely different than high school football. Like they actually they lifted even during my favorite practice, lifting 2 or 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. They're doing conjugate systems that conjugate works great for sports. Like conjugate was made for sports. And their dynamic effort a day, their strength will always be first, then repetition effort, then speed. That's what they basically would do. But they wouldn't run their players to the ground. Uh-huh. If they made a mistake, what they would do is they would say, "Hey, you messed up."
Especially not your brothers. Excessive 40-minute long warm-ups before the game starts.
No, I so many things I think back.
Why are you doing a whole shit ton of push-ups and stuff right before the game?
let's get you exhausted and weak right before you need to be strong.
Yeah, half the guys playing, half the linemen are fat as fuck. They can only do 20 anyways. Why are we going to do that?
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing. 1 second, two. Okay. It's kind of mind blowing because I said, going back to that, if you messed up instead of running, then if you write a 1,000-word essay, that was due by next practice. Mm-hmm. Athletes hate that more than running. Athletes can run to the blue in the face.
I'm not an athlete, so I can't.
Well, it's but you can discipline yourself to do it.
No, I get what you're saying. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
There was just the mutual respect. And so it's just interesting how sports change. Like as you go up the system, it's like in high school, it's like you have these it's just like it's like military boot camp. And then like once you get into college, it's just so much more like
there's actual science behind
it, and like money and qualified people. And then in the pro, it's even more like
that was what always confused me a little bit. And I guess it kind of goes to show it's like just because you may have played even in professional league or division of your sport, and now you're coaching whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a great coach and necessarily understand what it is, the science behind it, and how
coaching is a completely different skill than being an athlete.
Yeah,
you have to know how to motivate people. Like that's actually one thing that bothers me about some coaches. Like I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm like, so your job is to hold your client's hands in your players' hands. Like you're supposed to hold them accountable, motivate them, help them through the hard times.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of athletes that are just really good athletes, but they have no idea how to coach, no idea how to motivate, no idea how to hold their athletes accountable, no idea how to, know some social, emotional intelligence. Like I don't coach every one of my clients the exact same.
Yeah.
They have different personalities, they have different ways that they communicate. Like I have some clients who are just like, I can be very football coach and be like, hey, like stop doing this, you're being stupid, do your job. And I'm like, it's like, so this was so good, like you did this great, but maybe you should think about this. But again, you're doing a really great job. Like everybody's different.
Everyone takes criticism differently too.
Yeah. That's part of being a leader, though, is being able to do that for everybody that you're around and leading by example. That's the most important thing. Like I just think back to like just going back to like like when we were growing up, I just like we literally did everything together, and like people always ask me like who's your best friend, and like honestly it'll always be you. Like that's the thing, is that like I think that's something that especially as you get older, you realize like how much smaller that circle of people that actually like you trust was smaller and smaller. Like it's like you, like everybody, like Jacob, like dude, I would like die for you guys, and like I think that's the one thing that I'm learning.
So Jake,
and Jake's like, I heard my name. Go back to playing your board game. It's like I've always had a little bit of a hard time with like prioritizing family stuff.
I see that shifting a little bit more as you get older.
But I'm learning as I'm getting older, like that's the most important thing in your life is your friends and is your family. Like those people are always going to be there for you. Like,
especially it's like people you take it for granted, when you have it. But there's a lot of people out there who don't necessarily have their families, and so those that do, it's like you should.
Dude, we're so lucky to have grown up and like my mom and dad. I remember when I was your kids, and like every Saturday, get up, weed. I'm like, but none of my friends do this. Right. Like they always like wake up, they have cereal, sugar cereal, they have as much as that.
You want about stupid kid shit, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, but like, it's like mom and dad were like, they were loving, they were fair, and they had high standards for us. So I'm just so grateful for that though, because it's given me such an edge.
Yeah,
over everybody else.
I'd say Dad definitely taught us both to work hard, and I mean something that Dad used to always say was, I heard him not say it so long. It's like you pick your heart. Life's gonna be hard regardless of which route you choose, whether you want to like excel or stay stagnant. Your life's going to be difficult. Pick your heart.
Yeah, and like it really is that simple. Life is, and like learning how to like work hard, learning how to like work before you play, and like also learning how to enjoy life too, because and like just prioritize your health. That's something else that mom and dad like they've always done that. Like I never once question like, do mom and dad love me? Never have.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that when you're a kid, it's like you're always like, oh man, I'll never be like dad or whatnot, or I don't know, it's like I thought I've always thought mom is the goat. Like mom's the best. Like mom makes like awesome food and whatnot. Like dad, I was always just like dad's like mean, like he has like high standards and whatnot. But like dad was just working all the time, and I think back to like everything that he taught me, and it's just like I would not be the person I am without my dad.
Yeah, life's different when you reflect on it. Absolutely,
yeah.
Insight. But yeah. Good chat.
Yeah. Thanks guys for listening. Just hope you guys enjoy this. Follow me on Instagram. Bye. Thanks.
That was fun.
That's literally what podcasting is. I have like some episodes that's like literally just like, oh, here's a person that I'm talking to. That's going to like. It's just podcasting is a lot of fun. It's just a conversation.
Yeah, send that to me or whatever.
I'm gonna publish it.
Okay.